I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. We are continuing our quick deep dive into, not really a deep dive, it's kind of like a over the water, review of, not review, but more of a preview of the NFL upcoming season. As we all know, the Super Bowl quest for a three-peat for the Chiefs starts on Thursday. And, well, they play against two of the toughest teams in the AFC in this first 2 weeks because the NFL doesn't like competition. They want to get players that are still kind of breaking themselves in to play each other in the beginning of the year, so therefore it doesn't matter until the end. Bad marketing, in my opinion. But today we're talking about the AFC North, and the team we're going to talk about first is the team that sadly I feel is the biggest question mark, even though they got two of the most iconic quarterbacks in the league. So, sorry guys, but in fourth place of the AFC North, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry guys, so sorry. And the big question is, yes, Russell Wilson has been named the starter. Why do I feel like that wasn't with confidence? And why do I feel that none of the quarterbacks have proven? But then again, I feel like preseason is a way for mainly a lot of media people, including us YouTubers, to overreact and say, wow, that looks sucked, or wow, that looked great, and realizing that, yeah, no one's really playing all their stars and no one's playing all their cards. So this is just to make sure that they're functional. And we have no idea what they're going to do, but I think the most appropriate test for the Steelers will be Week 5 versus Dallas. Now, of course, division foes always screams volumes, but I feel like for people that are not focusing on that, let's focus on the Dallas team, another obnoxious franchise like the Cowboys, and let's see if we can bring back the good old days of good Cowboys and Steelers, rivalry that has been plagued and has been the cornerstone of multiple Super Bowls and multiple just matchups for years to come. And let's try to bring that back again with basically both franchises showing major concerns and not really support for their quarterbacks. Fun. So, but then of course Week 11 and Week 16 are both against Baltimore. Now, Cincinnati and Cleveland makes sense. But I feel confidently, and without making spoilers in this video, that Baltimore will be the team to beat because of MVP Lamar Jackson. So to me, I feel like it's most appropriate to focus on the matchups against the Ravens. Funny enough, how they pretty much had the Steelers to me are like the Saints to the Bucks. The Saints could suck, but they'll beat the Bucks that are a better team for whatever reason, and sometimes sweep them. Weird. Steelers are a team that, for some reason, if they beat the Ravens, even though the Ravens will be like a 13-win team, the Steelers will still sweep them. It's just a weird thing. It's just like how the Steelers have the number of the Ravens, I don't know, and that's how I feel about Pittsburgh. But Week 5 versus Dallas, you guys are at home. I think if you want to shake off the rust of the first 4 weeks of the season, go against a Cowboy team that has way bigger aspirations of this year than you guys do, and you punch them in the mouth, hey, you might be the hero to all Cowboy haters out there, and also Stephen A. Smith would be very happy. You'd be very happy. But then again, we all could just be saying, hey, it's only Week 5, and we ignore it, passive-aggressively. So that's how I feel, and, pardon. 9 wins is your ceiling, dude. You guys been barely making playoffs every year, so I'm going to say it again. You guys will barely make the playoffs with a 9-win thing. But if for some reason you finally lost the last bit of Lucky Star Shamrock cookies, 7-10 might be the most honest. It's the quarterback play. Russell Wilson, I have no idea what happened to him after he got traded from Seattle to Denver. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. And Justin Fields, for some reason, I feel like they're trying to make him something that he's not. I'm not saying make him a quarterback, but I feel like, dude, let him run. Let him run. Let him run. Fine. Let him run. Let him run. Let him use athleticism. Fine. It might be something better for him. I don't know. But these two guys, I remember they were at one point viewed as the kings of their franchises, from Chicago to Seattle. And now they're basically, Russell's on his third team. You can forget this guy went to back-to-back Super Bowls and nearly won 2 in a row. He still won a ring. And for some reason, it just feels like Russell Wilson, like he's already being discarded as trash. And he has a ring. He gave Seattle its franchise first Super Bowl. And somehow we're ignored. Sometimes like, oh yeah, he did that. Well, like 60 years ago? Like, it just doesn't exist anymore. So, if for some reason that's where the peak of the Steelers be is a 9-win, fine. Your offensive and defensive MVP candidates, TJ Watt might be the Steelers' only MVP, but I like to try to find one from both sides of the football. And George Pickens for the wide receiver corps, because I feel like he'll probably still have 1,000-yard rushing and probably like 8 touchdowns, but the Steelers will have like a losing record. The quarterback will have like very, very poor QBRs, but Pickens will still do his job. And then we'll just be like, okay, cool. And for some Steeler fans out there that I'm hoping that he does not become like a lot of very talented receivers of the past, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and now Pickens, that he doesn't become a toxic receiver to the point where it's like, here we go again, Chase Claypool. So I feel like they're just trying to avoid those type of feelings in Pittsburgh when it comes to very talented receivers who have a massive ego. So I think they're trying to hopefully that Pickens has become that. Because honestly, we all thought Juju was the sweetheart. And then he became what he always was, I guess. So what is my verdict? Because I want to troll, even though I do feel like they'll be last place, if somehow they make the playoffs as a 7th seed, I will not be surprised. They will make the playoffs. How? I don't know. They'll find a way. They'll be 9-8 or 9-7-1. They'll get a tie because they do that, and they'll make the playoffs. Get smoked probably by superior teams, obviously, but they'll make the playoffs again. And then it'll be one of those situations where, do we fire Mike Tomlin? Like, no, he took us to the playoffs. We can't fire him. All right. So let's move on. So yeah, Steelers, you make the playoffs. Barely. Didn't clear the chair. So, that's the Steelers. The third place team is a team that also have a question with the quarterback, mainly because we want to know when he's going to show up. But they have a great defense, and their defense MVP is on my wall, so... Cleveland, you'll be the third best team in your own division. Now, we all often when Deshaun Watson is going to show up. When is he going to show up? I have said that I think Jameis Winston is the better quarterback for Cleveland. And that's me saying the guy who wanted Winston out of Tampa. That's me saying that. Because the big thing to me is that at least Winston plays. Watson has... I think Winston's ceiling is kind of met by most fans. So it's like, what are you going to lose? I feel like the defense is going to be great. Chubb is coming back. So I don't see anything wrong with Cleveland. But it's just, when are you guys going to pull Watson and say, enough. We waited too long, too much money. Just, take the L and just move on. Because there's a good chance that Winston could play, 6 games this year. Whether because of Watson's injury or because of Watson's lack of play. Now, I didn't say start, I said play. So I'm just saying, if the Cleveland defense does what it does last year, I will not be surprised if it. But I still have them as an 11-win team if all goes right. Because I still believe with Chubb coming back, this Cleveland team is more formidable than the Cleveland Browns of old that we used to make fun of and laugh at. But if the Watson experiment goes south, 7 wins might be the best they can do, and therefore they move on, because for all we know, Cincinnati, hopefully Joe Burrow will stay healthy, and therefore that will make them considered, they can take Cleveland. They can take Cleveland's 2 wins. That could probably put them in playoff position. Who knows? But week 1 versus Dallas is a great introduction to the season. And Tom Brady is going to be broadcasting. That means absolutely nothing, but it's good for narrative speaking. Then you have week 8 versus Baltimore, and then week 16 at Cincinnati. That's week 16 at Cincinnati could be for playoff positioning, and maybe, if things go right, a division championship potentially in Cleveland's future. So that could be the reason why. But week 1 versus Dallas have always come onto the season very hot. If Cleveland can smack them in the mouth, at least we can say once again, thank you, Cleveland. We hate Dallas. Or we can say, okay, Cleveland is ready. Dallas, let's talk to Jerry Jones 60 more times and make this the major overreaction for the week. Wondering what is wrong with Dallas. Blah 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 blah. So we'll see. We'll see. But Cleveland, yeah. Your offensive MVP is going to be Nick Chubb. Heck, Nick Chubb could be your comeback player of the year because of his devastating injury, and he come back and rush for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. He could be that kind of guy. And I feel like he has been that guy since day one, even though he had injuries at Georgia, and they were concerned about, running back fatigue in most players. But I feel like if he comes back in, he will be your offense MVP. Your defense MVP will be Myles Garrett because he was the NFL defense MVP, one of my favorite defensive players, one of my favorite players, period. And I am hoping that he will defend his title again. I feel like he was a major contributor factor to why the Browns got themselves into the playoffs last year with the 35 quarterback they went through to get there, and he was a major reason why. So Myles Garrett is going to be your defensive MVP. The verdict for the Cleveland Browns, I can see him in the playoffs. Could I see him get to the divisional? Yes. Beyond that, no. But if for whatever reason they were to face against a division foe, like if they were to face Baltimore or Cincinnati in the playoffs, I can see just sense of history, and we have played it multiple times and they've been back and forth. They can probably steal a win. Or in the best case scenario, they win the division. I know, I'm asking for a lot from the gods on that statement. They'll probably play against Pittsburgh or Miami that just sneaks into the playoffs, gets smacked in the mouth, and then Cleveland goes on to the divisional round. As much as I would like to say Cleveland go host a playoff game, I'm going to say that's a little bit too much of fantasy for me, and I like fantasy stories too. But Cleveland, I can see you guys make the playoffs because of the defense. But the Watson thing, you got to figure that out, okay? So that's Cleveland. I made it this time. And now we're going to stay in Ohio, because I have good friends from Ohio. And we're going to talk about the team that I feel like they're banking basically on their quarterback. All these teams live and die by their quarterbacks. Cincinnati. Joe Burrow has to be healthy. Okay? Joe Burrow has to remain healthy. That's the number one reason for that. And if he stays healthy, 12 wins is in the Bengals' future. Now, at the time of this recording, the conversation becomes about receiving and paying Chase what he deserves. But because CeeDee Lamb finally got paid, Brandon Ayuk just finally got paid, so I feel like, and Chase? I feel like they're going to get that thing done. And, of course, with Higgins in the receiving core who signed a franchise tag. But if the Bengals stay healthy, and Joe Burrow stay healthy, keep him protected, because I feel like you guys have not really solved your offensive lineman situation, then we're going to see Joe Burrow potentially be in the MVP conversation. That's right, I said it. A small YouTuber from nowhere is saying that Joe Burrow is going to be in the MVP conversation with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Fantasy. But week 2 at Kansas City. I don't like that they're putting Ravens and Chiefs and Bengals within the first 3 weeks or the first 2 weeks, and it to be like, really, you're gonna put two teams that still trying to figure themselves out, like what they have, because players do age. I kind of would like to see the Chiefs and the Ravens, and then the Chiefs and the Bengals probably like week 8, in the midway part of the season, so we can see, okay, where they're gonna go from here. But this is the same thing they do with college games sometimes. They put the big matchups in the beginning of the season, and it's like, oh no, like back in the day, it was Hurricanes and Florida State. And I was like, oh good, Miami versus Florida State in the first week of the season. And then whoever wins that game basically has like, well, we beat our rival. I guess the rest of the season is just a preliminary hearing, I guess. So the tension is gone after that, because then you're like, what's the point of watching? Now, for overreaction's sake, that would be great. If the Chiefs were to lose their first 2 games, Chiefs' heads will explode, and I would sit there going, glorious. But if the Chiefs go 1-1, it'll be whoever wins and be like, head still exploding, glorious. But even then, this team with injuries went 9 wins. So, week 5 versus Baltimore, week 10 at Baltimore. I still feel like this Bengals team is on Joe Burrow. So for that, Joe Burrow has to remain healthy for the Bengals to do anything. And that's why when it comes to your offense and defensive MVPs, we're going to go with Joe Burrow, obviously, and Trey Hendrickson, who I feel like has been a very quiet, dominant pass rusher. I thought he was great in New Orleans, and then it went to Cincinnati. He basically proved his worth, and I'm very, very happy. Now, I did hear a report that he would talk about he wanted to trade. As far as I know, I think he's still on the roster. I mean, I have not heard anything about him leaving. So, but to me, I feel like he is a big factor in that Bengals defense with basically no real, like there's no one else I can think of when I think of Cincinnati defense. Why do you go into Burfict of all people? You know, probably one of the most problematic defensive players in the NFL, period. But besides that, I can't think of any other Bengal that I can say confidently saying that's a defense, or that's the captain, or that's the face of the defense. Hendrick to me is the face of the defense for the Bengals, and that's why he is my MVP. Your verdict for the Bengals: if Burrow stays healthy, they're going to the playoffs. Could they win the division? Yes. Could they get to the conference championship? Yes. Do I see them in the Super Bowl? I hope they go to the Super Bowl. Bengals, Eagles, Super Bowl? Maybe, I don't know. Actually, Bengals and Lions, it's a cat fight. That'd be kind of funny. But I can see him in the playoffs. I can see him get far in it. I just not confidently to say Super Bowl. I'm just like, you can get there. Just I have other teams that I feel like will be better than you in the playoffs. So, but hey, no one thought you guys were gonna go to the Super Bowl the year we went to against the Rams. So, surprises all again. But yeah, that's what I feel about the Bengals. And that means the last team who's going to be your division winner more than likely. And are they going to repeat as MVP? I don't know. But I'm hoping to God they finally get their stuff together. And the team that I feel confident is going to be probably the, with the best record of the entire season, like have the most wins. Baltimore to me is going to be the more than likely division winners. Is Lamar Jackson going to return as MVP? He has a chance. But then again, he was criticized heavily for not being a passer, just by being a player. So, we'll deal with the haters when we deal with the haters. But I see this team being a 13-win team and at worst case 10 wins. This team is going to the playoffs. And the only reason why they will not go to the playoff is Lamar Jackson is out for the year. Like broken leg, torn ACL, like I'm not wishing that upon him. No. But I'm saying that's the only reason why. This Raven team defensively with Derrick Henry is going to help so much more that it might make the Ravens more dangerous. Because Derrick Henry might take the punishment, and then Lamar Jackson will remain so fresh that in the fourth quarter when they need like a first down or a touchdown, Lamar Jackson will be so fresh without having to run for his life that he'll probably take a 60-yard touchdown himself, because that's what's going to happen. And then, of course, Derrick Henry will eat the clock. This Raven team might be a team that have either the quickest touchdown by most or the longest time of possession by most. Like they can just eat the clock, or they go 1-2 sprint touchdown. Could be that type of team. Week 1 at Kansas City. Week 3 at Dallas. Week 5 at Cincy. The first 5 weeks, they got 3 heavy hitters. And if they were to win all of them, more power, more confidence moving forward. But if by week 5 they have 3 losses and it's because of these 3 teams, uh-oh. But to me, I feel like they'll go to at least 2-1. Honestly, I'll go ballsy. They'll probably win the first 5 weeks. Calling it. I have no proof. I just have a gut feeling. Either that or indigestion. But Ravens, yeah, the first 5 weeks of the season will help dictate. But like I said, we might even know who you really are by that time. So talk about drawing a short shtick right now. Your offensive and defense MVP is going to go to Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson. These are the two captains that are going to lead your team to victory. These are going to be the captains. I was considering Derrick Henry as a potential offensive candidate for the Ravens, but I feel like he was going to be used very simply. I don't think they're going to overly complicate the man. Not because I'm not saying that he can't, and not because the guy is up in age when it comes to running backs. I'm just feeling that they're basically saying we want you to do what you do best. Run down the hole, run down people, stiff arm people to oblivion, and just be physical. I think that's what they want Derrick Henry to really, really do. We're not asking you to do flea flickers and screen passes and hooks and ladders. We just want you to be straightforward downhill runner and to basically help us, set up play action. We're not overly complicating that for you. So that's why I feel like Derrick Henry ability is going to help Lamar Jackson thrive further because he'll be taking pressure off Lamar. And Roquan Smith has been a beast since he's been here, so I cannot help but feel like. But I am wondering the pass rush, man, the Ravens pass rush, because I keep having visions of that AFC Championship game, man. They're not strong, man. Verdict for the Ravens: Super Bowl. You guys are going to Super Bowl, or at least you better get to the Super Bowl. I don't care if you lose in the Super Bowl, just get there. So to me, Ravens are gonna go to the Super Bowl. That is where I see them being. So that's the Ravens. That's the entire AFC North. So we're gonna go to the NFC North and talk about them Packers, them Lions, them Bears, and Vikings. Oh my! So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you very much for watching.